We are live, and we're talking about Impressionists today. I'm excited about Impressionists. We want to go to a museum, but we're not allowed.
I know. It was kind of heartbreaking going through, like looking for pictures and stuff. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I want to go to
a
painting.
I want to be in a museum again.
I feel like the only museums now are on our church tours.
Yeah, the originals. The original museum. Bonjour, Ellen.
So nice to see you. You were on our virtual tour, right? Ellen's a supporter.
She was.
We love that. We just want to see you everywhere. And she's not sick of us yet. She's back for more.
She's not tired of listening to us?
Not tired of listening to us yet. Well, she's ready to test out her trivia. That's why she's here.
Yes.
We're like the Jeopardy of Impressionists over here.
Oh, rest in peace, Alex.
Oh, Alex.
I'm still not recovered from that. It still makes me too sad.
Too soon. We'll talk about it. Hey, Shay.
You were
too. I love all the people following us.
I know, we love these ladies.
So nice of them. You would think they're tired of our voices. Not yet. Maybe if we do one more thing.
Yeah. We'll we don't need to add another live video in the day.
Yeah, no more lives. Just trivia. Just trivia.
Not in the same day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of talking for Claudine too. Let's give it up for Claudine. She just been talking. Oh, the Rodin Museum Garden is open.
Oh, perfect.
I read that. That's great. I'm gonna have to go over there. We were just saying how we miss seeing any kind of artwork outside of a church. One day it will all return. Well, today we are talking about the Impressionists of Paris. There will be trivia all around the Impressionist period. Impressionism, Impressionist artists, all around Impressionism. Yes. And how much do you guys know? Can we get some thumbs up if we feel smart? Maybe some thumbs down if we don't feel smart.
I know. Hopefully Dawn and Carol are watching because I know they're the experts. I was thinking about them the whole time I was writing the questions. I was like, I bet they're going to know all these.
They're your muses.
They are. They are. They're smart cookies when it comes to on lots of things, but especially the Impressionists.
Oh, Ellen's ready. She gave me a thumbs up. Ellen, we're going to test you. So the whole thing is we want you guys to guess. Even if you don't feel confident in your answers, just throw out some guesses. Why not? I'm wrong all the time. It's super fun. Just throw out some guesses. We love when you guys interact. Just any guess will do. But I'll ask the questions, and then Claudine will give us the history behind the answers. So it's always fun. You can learn something new and be the know-it-all at your next family dinner.
Yeah, and I have some pictures too. I have 3 big books right next to me to show some pictures.
Oh, it's a show and tell, guys. We're going to show you
what we're talking about.
Well, let's jump in, guys. So our first question, whose painting gave the name to the movement? So this person made a painting which started this whole Impressionist movement. Any ideas, guys? Oh, Lori, I got your thumbs up, though. I like it.
That works.
We know where you're going. So any guesses about whose painting gave the name to the Impressionist movement? I had no idea about this one. Ellen, that's not a bad guess. Did they get any clues, Claudine?
I don't know. I can't. If it was, I don't know. I think it would just give it away.
Give it away. That's not a bad guess, Ellen.
I try to start out not giving things away, and then halfway through, I'm giving it all away.
Yeah, we're just telling you all the answers accidentally because we're so excited. Cynthia says Monet, also not a bad guess. Carolyn says Monet's painting. It's called Impressionism Sunrise in the museum. Okay, I think that Carolyn's on the right track here. And then Lori said Manet. Cheryl said Soleil Levant by Manet. These are all great guesses. I can tell we have some real Impressionist enthusiasm here. Claudine, what is the right answer?
Carolyn and Cheryl, you hit it as top of the needle or head or whatever you call that. You guys are right. In April 1874, at the first Impressionist exhibit that happened in Paris, Monet included his painting, Sunrise, and it was he was having a hard time deciding what to name it because he actually painted of the harbor, Le Havre, and so he decided to, at the kind of spur of the moment, to call it Sunrise, Impression Sunrise. It was painted in 1872, and you could see it's a pretty stunning painting. You could see it in Paris at the Musée Marmottan Monet, and this is it.
Yeah, I recognize that. That was the one that started the whole name of the movement.
Yeah, so that's what basically gave it its name. The first time I went to the Marmottan, everything said no pictures, and I was dying because I wanted to have a picture of this painting because I was going to write about it. And so I was being all, sneaky and pretending you're on your phone. And, but the last couple times I've gone, they don't care. It's like a free for all for photos.
I feel like when you think you're being sneaky, you're not being that sneaky. It's just they're done yelling at people, basically.
Yeah, I think it just depends on who's watching. But they did take all the no photo signs down. So
so then you're allowed to now.
Now you are.
I think people figured out how to turn off their flash, because they're always worried about the light on the painting. So
yes, I did have a lady, an American lady, yell at me one time in the Louvre because it was a special exhibition and I was taking photos, and she walked behind me and she was like, "You're not supposed to take photos." And then she goes, "It says right there." And I go, "No, actually that means no flash."
Oh, you schooled that.
Yeah.
Show it all. Oh, show the painting again.
Here it is.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that in person. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. It's not that big. It's actually on the cover of this little book that I have too.
The birth of the Impressionist name.
Yeah.
Right there, guys.
Right there. That's what did it.
Good guesses, guys. I like it. Keep it coming. Don't be shy. All right, next question, guy. What was the name of the classic school that was against the Impressionist movement? So this was a classic school in France, I'm assuming, and they were against the Impressionist movement. Any ideas for a classic art school that would be against the Impressionist movement? Any guesses, guys? Hi, Phyllis.
Bonjour, Phyllis.
Some new names here. I like that. Kathy Brock. I don't think we've had Kathy Brock before. And Ellen. I don't recognize Ellen's name.
Oh, see, here comes Dawn. Dawn and Carol.
Dawn and Carol. Any guesses, guys? A classical art school in Paris that was like, no way Impressionist. I mean, basically everybody was against the Impressionists, except the Impressionists, I feel like. They were they even together? I mean, I feel like those are some big heads.
Yeah. Paris isn't very big. France isn't very big on change. So anybody, as we've talked about in our live walks of Paris, they hated the pyramid, they hated the Eiffel Tower, they hated all those things. And they come around.
You gotta give them time.
Take some time. Give it time.
Mm-hmm. Warm up.
Yes.
Carol has a new appreciation of Picasso. Oh, saw that in St. Petersburg. Very cool.
Oh my God, I would love to see the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. Would die to see that museum.
I've heard amazing things about St. Petersburg, Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a very cold place to be right now.
Yes, I think it would be very cold. We have vodka.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they drink so much vodka. All right, guys, I like all these guesses. What is the answer, Claudine?
It was the École des Beaux-Arts, which is just on the left bank, and it kind of looks right across over at the Louvre. It dates back to 1648, and it was founded by Cardinal Mazarin, one of my favorite ones. It was overseen by the king, and so he would basically decide. At the time it was mostly just men, very few women could actually get into it, but the king would be involved in he'd actually pick some of the artists. He'd pick some of the artists that would become his official portraitists, but they very focused on, of course, the classical the definition of what art was. So when the Impressionists came around, they weren't too pleased. And the next question has something kind of to do with that too.
I love to We keep the traditions going. This became the new tradition.
Yes.
Traditions have to start somewhere, guys.
Yes.
Good guesses. Keep them coming. All right, next question. In 1863, this long-standing tradition rejected a painting by Manet. So not Monet, Manet. And this long-standing tradition in France, it was 1863, and they're like, no way, we do not want that painting by Manet featured here. What do you think that was, guys? What tradition rejected his painting? Any ideas? This is kind of it's not difficult, but think about traditions back in the 1800s around art. What tradition could have rejected Manet? I think you guys could get this. Could definitely get this. Kiva, Don says the salon, not a bad guess. Anybody else have some guesses about what was going on in the 1800s around art that might have rejected Manet?
They wanted their only classic.
Classically
trained artists, the classic images. Don't bring any of these, naked ladies into it.
No naked ladies. Only paintings of Jesus on a cross.
Yeah.
That was your options back then.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the Academy, Salon. Good guesses, guys. Well, Dawn and Carolyn are correct.
It was the Salon in 1863. The Salon, that's also kind of a lot of the people from the École des Beaux-Arts were involved in the committee, and they decided Manet. Here comes Manet, literally rolling down his large painting down the street. That's how the artist would actually have to get it there. They would just they'd have these what we think of masterpieces now, just cruising down the street out in the open air, and they saw it and they were like, no way. They rejected his painting. They everything about it, which we'll have in the next question. But they decided they didn't want any, because all of the Academy had to actually look at, and approve the paintings they had on there. And so they'd actually stamp it on the back of it with like a big rejection stamp. Just, I guess, maybe, in case they were going to try to, flip the system or something and try to get it back in there. But Manet's painting was the one that kind of started them down a dark path.
Yeah, it was all downhill from there, guys. Yeah. I love that they put an actual stamp on the back of the painting. That feels very French to me.
Rejected.
You are.
I would love to see the back of some of those paintings to see if it's actually still there.
I'm sure it is. I feel like that would go away very easily.
Yeah, they frown upon me touching and trying to pull things off the wall, though.
Yeah, I think that's a sure way to French prison, actually.
Yeah.
I want to explore the history there as well. All right, guys, next question. This painting by Manet featuring a nude model shocked Paris. So what was the title of this painting? It had a nude model. It was painted by Manet. What was the title of that painting? Hopefully you guys can write in French. Yes, Lori, I love using my brain sometimes too. It's nice to step away from Netflix. I went on a binge of Jack Ryan yesterday, and today I'm using my mind. 24 hours of Jack Ryan.
Isn't Jack Ryan part of it in Paris?
It is.
Season?
It is, yeah, the first season. It was actually really interesting, that dynamic. Not to get off topic, but it was actually interesting to look at, things that are happening in France and terrorism.
Yeah. I'll give you a hint. It doesn't have it has more than one person in it.
Yes, more than one person. Shocked Paris, naked people. Great painting. I love the title too. I mean, these guys are just very to the point.
This is one of my favorites. Again, I know I say that 1,000 times, but
everything.
I have lots of favorites.
Lori, we'll miss you. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks for coming. Olivia, good guesses.
You're right, Dawn.
Dawn, you're always right.
I almost said that after I said it. I was going to say, oh, wait, but then I want to give too much away.
Two paintings. All right, guys. Almost everyone got this one right. What is it, Claudine?
It is Déjeuner sur l'herbe, which is one of my favorites. I absolutely love this painting. Here is a very large picture of it that you can see right here. Manet, like so many of the other people, would spend their days in the Louvre copying other paintings. And he one day was in the Louvre, and he said to the friend that he was with, he said he saw this painting by Titian, and he said to him, I actually have some pictures of those ones. He actually said, I think I need to do a painting of a nude. And he goes, very well, I shall paint one. And so he painted one and added with the river in the background and everything. And at the time, the reason why it was such a huge deal was because in art at the time, in classic art, you didn't have nude women in a contemporary, modern. It always had to be as an allegory or as a religious. And so here he brings this painting, with this woman sitting there, and she's, naked. She's not only is she naked, but she's actually looking at the viewer, and they completely freaked out. But he would go into the Louvre, and you could see in these other paintings that he was inspired by. So you can see this one. It's called The Judgment of Paris by Raphael. Look at the way this man is sitting. Whoops.
Yeah, the same.
Look at his.
Oh, that's crazy. It's almost exactly the same.
Yeah, and he was actually inspired. He was inspired by Raphael, but it's also he used it also from Michelangelo's Adam. That's at the Sistine Chapel. He used that as well. I always think of this painting as kind of his family his family painting. His brother's in there, plus his brother-in-law. The woman in the front that is naked, originally, he was involved with Suzanne, who was also his piano teacher. But his father had supposedly slept with her too for quite a while. And Manet was quite upset about that. And so he actually was going to paint her into this painting, but then later ended up kind of changing her face to Victorine, who was a very famous model that we've also done a podcast about. But he ended up using her. But this painting, it's shocking everybody because of the men are dressed and they're wearing modern clothes for the time. And that just completely freaked everybody out.
I would love for people at that time to see like a Cardi B video now.
Oh my God, they would just come unglued. First of all, the TV would freak them out. But it's one of my favorite paintings also because Cézanne, I just posted on my Instagram the other day about Cézanne. He did a version of it. Also Picasso painted. He painted I can't remember, almost 100 versions of it. It was the only thing that he spent more time on his life on, just on one subject. And the Picasso Museum in Paris, they rotate some of those paintings. I have posted on Instagram before with some of them, but of course Picasso did, his Picasso take on some of them. But it's really fascinating because the painting caused so much interest, and then also the Monet also painted a version of it too.
Everybody was obsessed with it.
Yeah, there was the people obsessed with it, then there was the people that hated it. So
even if they hated it, they were still obsessed.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
Mary's asking if there's a black spotted dress on the ground. Is that black spot a dress?
Well, she has there's a picnic basket. Can you see it?
I think the corner is what she's talking about. There's like a blackness, but I think that's just shading or something.
Yeah, I think it's just the shading. It's probably not so great when I just hold it up to the camera.
The screen.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right, guys, you're doing awesome. Next question. He painted a painting of a young, sad woman with a glass of absinthe. So who was it that painted this famous painting of a young, sad woman with a glass of absinthe? I feel like there was a lot of that going on. I mean, they had plenty of models to pick from. These sad, poor people drinking these drug-induced alcohol.
Yeah, absinthe was quite the subject of art there for a while in Paris.
It came from Germany originally, didn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't have the crazy
wormwood.
Mm-hmm.
We got some Degas. We got Lautrec. Good guesses, guys. They know their Impressionism. Picasso, not bad. Carroll. These are great. Toulouse, yeah. I would think Toulouse first because, he was kind of famous for his love.
I love Toulouse-Lautrec.
I mean, who doesn't? Little midget man getting around.
I know.
He's like oddly formed.
Yeah. He was oddly formed in more ways than one, and we'll keep it PG-13. From things I have read.
He got around, guys.
He did.
Things. Guys, the answer is Degas. Good guesses.
This is another one. Okay, I'll say it. It's another one of my favorite one. Most of all the paintings that we're showing you today are mostly from the Orsay, except for the first Impressionist. But whenever I see this painting up on the Impressionist gallery, I'm always like, it's such a sad, but it's such a beautiful painting at the same time. And a lot of people will know this painting.
Oh, yeah.
It's so big, I can't even see if I'm even in the screen.
That's perfect. Hold it right there. That's beautiful.
So it's but if you look at like the models that he has in here are so sad. And when Degas wanted to paint this, he painted this just up at the Café Nouveau Athens, which is just right below Pigalle. He had this idea for the painting, and he ended up he couldn't find, he'd go into the cafe and he'd look at people, but he couldn't find people sad enough for what he wanted to capture. And so he ended up asking two friends. He asked an actress, Hélène André, and then Marcelin, who was a painter, debutant, and he asked them to pose for him so he could do this painting. So I love this paint because it is such a sad, but then once I realized about the fact that he just couldn't find people sad enough, so he found models to do it for him, then I was like, okay, well, it's not, it kind of took a little bit of the sting of how sad the painting looks. It's just, she just is looking off, and you think that, is she a courtesan? Is she a prostitute at the end of her day? And she's just looking on, what is my life? And I'll just have some absinthe.
Yeah. I mean, your imagination could go wild on that. It kind of takes the fun out of it knowing they were paid to look so sad.
Yeah.
Kind of good news people weren't that sad. He needed to hire models.
Yeah, he needed to hire some. But the look on her face is just so sad. But yeah, Dawn, there is no legs on the table. You're right.
All right, guys, good guesses. Next question. She was the best known of the female Impressionists. Okay, so she was the top known female Impressionist, and she was a model for Manet. Who was she? So she was also an Impressionist painter, but she also was a model for Manet. Let's see how good you guys are. Who was this woman? A lot of clues there.
And we have done a podcast about her.
We have. Good old Bert.
Well, I just said it.
I just love saying that word, because I'm so bad at it.
I found somebody else that has that name because we've done a few episodes about Bert and different Berts, just because I love to make you try to say it.
I know, you're so mean to me. Oh, everybody.
And then you mess me up, though, in the podcast. I started to say Bert, too, and it drives me nuts.
You're welcome. Everybody got it anyway. Look at all these smart people. You are correct.
Yes, it was Berthe Morisot who, in 1867, Manet actually met her and her sister Edma at the Louvre. And Henri Fantin-Latour, another one of my favorite artists, that was a huge fan of the Impressionists, he ended up actually taking Manet to the Louvre to go see. At the time, women couldn't go to the Louvre alone. Also, it was hard for them to find teachers. So a lot of times, they would go to the Louvre and just go there as copyists, which you could still do today, which we've talked about before. And so Manet met them. At first, he was kind of enamored with her sister. Then he and Berthe ended up becoming very close. He loved that she had this very, he was really went through a period of time where he was obsessed with Spanish art and Spanish, women and stuff with the very dark black hair. And so he ended up right after he did Olympia and Déjeuner sur l'herbe, and he was, kind of not a big, people weren't loving him in France. Berthe was kind of his muse. And I absolutely, this is another one of those, my favorite paintings in the entire Orsay.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
In there?
They get a little higher.
Huh?
Higher. You want the man or the
wrong one?
There you go. There's the woman. Is that Bert?
Yep, that's her. And he painted her. She's actually holding, it's kind of hard to see. Even when you see the painting in real life, she is holding a very tiny little bunch of violets. But it's just I believe it was her father had just died. And so he kind of captured her in all of her mourning attire. But he painted her quite a few times, and she ended up also going on to becoming a artist on her own, of course, and she became quite a prolific artist. She married his brother, Manet's brother, and but they didn't. She had a daughter, but she and her husband died kind of young of the artist disease, syphilis.
Oh, yeah, very fascinating. What happened to their kid?
Her daughter Julie ended up growing up with her uncles, who were basically the artists of Paris, which, like Degas and all these other people kind of helped, oversee her. She ended up putting on some exhibits with the other artists about her mother and her mother's painting. She wrote a diary. She wrote a diary that was then later published. And actually, I think it was Don and Carol that told me about that. It's really interesting. It's crazy to read it and be, basically, Uncle Claude came over the other day. You're like, what?
I remember we talked about that on the podcast at all her uncles.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Shay was wondering what book you're using. She really
it's the paintings of the Musée d'Orsay.
Oh, nice. That's perfect.
So it's an official Orsay book. But I think I got it on Amazon years ago.
Okay. Go on Amazon, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. He would paint the same image at multiple times of the day. Who was it, guys? Which of our Impressionist painters was painting the same exact image different times of the day? I guess he was playing with light and sunrise and sunset and more. I mean, a lot like photography, We were the photographers. Paint the same image different times of the day. Oh, Dawn, thank you. Just like Krystal's book on Amazon. Woo! Shameless plug. I love it.
It's not shameless. It's fantastic. Everybody should read it. You should get it before next month because maybe it might be on our book club.
Yeah, if you want to be in the book club reading Krystal's book, maybe you should buy it now. Guys, you are all correct.
So smart.
So smart. We have the smartest people.
Very smart. It was Monet. And of course, he liked to capture the same image with the different effects of the seasons, as well as the times of the day. With the haystacks in the Orsay, of course, there's haystacks. There's even a haystacks in our tiny little sad museum that we have here where I live, because he did so many. But the cathedral, the Rouen Cathedral, of course, and these are all in the Orsay, and you could see them all next to each other. So I'll try to kind of show them here, where you could definitely see all the different times of the day.
Oh yeah, the color changes so much.
But especially when he was older and he had cataracts. He had a lot of problems with his eyes. So it was something that was kind of easy for him to do from memory of something, because he's, saw it a lot. So he, as he definitely aged, it was a little easier for him. And of course, with the water lilies and all of that stuff too.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I remember those paintings. So many good ones.
So many.
All right, guys. Next question. He captured the balls and dancers of Montmartre. The balls and dancers. That sounds kind of,
the bal.
The parties. The parties. Balls and dancers of Montmartre. Who was this famous painter? I live right down the street from where he painted a very famous painting of the Baz.
We walked by him on our very first live walking video.
We sure did. Picasso's old studio is on my street too.
Yes.
Just living among the guys, the ghosts of the great, you know.
How amazing is that?
Wouldn't mind having some of Picasso's money right now. Oh, good guesses, guys. Lautrec, Renoir, Degas. Well, the answer is Renoir.
It is, of course, Renoir. He really loved living up in Montmartre, and he loved to paint the different Val de Moulin de la Galette. That was the one where he painted everybody in the background and everybody, you know, the drinking and having fun and dancing. And then he also painted the 3 other dancing paintings that always have such a fun story. So those, really got to figure out how to do this and also see.
Bring it a little closer. Oh yeah, that's the famous one of like the peasants and the rich people side by side.
And then those are the 2 in the Orsay. They also have this one. That's another one. But she's actually, I shouldn't show that one. She's actually our book of the month this month about Valtess, and tomorrow's podcast episode, one of my favorites, Courtesans in French History. But these 2, he actually painted 3. He had his model, Suzanne Valadon, who we did a podcast about. He was going to paint all 3 of her. And then he, when his partner at the time, his future wife, Aline, she came in and saw that he was painting, you know, her, and he's spending all this time because she's painting all these paintings of Suzanne. She freaked out and kind of started to destroy one of the paintings. And so he ended up having to kind of acquiesce to her. And this is the one that is his partner. But it was originally Suzanne Valadon, who was in the other 2. These 2 are in the Orsay. The 3rd one is in New York.
You know, us women, we get jealous. We can't help ourselves, you know, painting.
Well, we know how a lot of those artists work.
Oh, Cheryl said one of her good friends lives down the street from the Moulin de la Galette.
Oh, nice.
I am neighbors with your good friend, Cheryl. I'm right there too. I love it up here. Next question. These artists, this is plural, guys. There's 3 names for this. These artists captured the view of everyday life from a woman's perspective. So these artists captured the view of everyday life from a woman's perspective. All right, guys, throw out some Impressionist painter names that were throwing out views of a woman's perspective in everyday life, which is not something we saw paintings of before, right? We can only get like Jesus, the king, not much of a lady's everyday life, right?
No. Security cameras at the haystacks? Wow.
What is that about? Wow. That's some Big Brother stuff right there. What are they afraid of? You're going to steal some.
It's probably like those fields of lavender in Provence where people are going in and trampling some of them so they could get their Instagram photos.
You know, if those farmers were smart, they would just set up a little table and say, pay me $20 a photo.
Exactly.
Retire.
Exactly.
These are all great guesses, guys. There are actually 3 names. Well, people were jumping on the haystacks. I mean, haystacks are very jumpable and fun. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Grandma had a farm in Virginia. That's how summers were spent.
So you know that they're like mice sleep, and there's no way I'm getting close to that.
I mean, you were definitely a city girl, Claudine. Right
I grew up on a farm.
You wouldn't touch it or not. Haystacks are so fun.
I know, but I have a huge thing about rodents, so it freaks me.
You love Paris, the capital of Ratatouille?
No, I've seen them, and I just. Ugh.
My friend saved a rat from the poison traps today.
Oh, no way.
Don't eat the poison. I'm like, you're the only woman to ever do that. Guys, some really good guesses. Claudine, what is the answer?
The answer, there's 3 of them. They were known as the Trois Grandes Dames. It was Berthe Morisot, Mary Cassatt, and Marie Bracquemont. Marie Bracquemont was who we just did the episode about last week. She is basically completely unknown and kind of left out of everything. She had a pretty sad. She had a bad picker when it came to deciding who to marry, and so it's really sad. And she kind of destroyed a lot of her paintings. So there's not a lot, but the 3 of them would always capture the images. This is one. It's a gorgeous one by Berthe. You can see the Institute of, or not the Institute, the Invalides over there.
It was beautiful.
But all 3 of them would kind of capture. At that time, they couldn't even see. They couldn't even paint like male models and stuff, so they had to use family members and stuff. So they would use their mother and their sister and children and stuff. Berthe. Here's a larger one of that one of Berthe.
Oh yeah,
different.
She's holding flowers. They really have.
You could kind of see it in there in the center.
Yeah.
But they, especially Berthe, she would paint her daughter. There's so many paintings of Julie as she grew up, of her daughter. And she would paint her, with the nanny in the kitchen, and so they captured this real vision at the time where not many of the other painters could really do.
Yeah, that's so cool. A woman's perspective. Like, good guesses, guys. Next question. He painted scenes of the ballet from in front and behind the stage. So who was this Impressionist painter who painted scenes of the ballet from in front and behind the stage? He has some really beautiful work in Washington, D.C. too.
Oh, yeah.
Some of his statues and paintings. I think it's the National Portrait Gallery. Giuseppe got really mad at us because he's one of those museum guys that stays at every picture in every room. And me and my mom just took off looking at everything quickly, and we lost him. And he didn't bring his phone, and he spent his 2 hours just looking for us instead of artwork. But
I would be pretty mad too.
Bring the phone next time.
He and I are gonna spend we'll be at the Louvre for like 4 hours, and you'll say, "What'd you do?" Like, well, we looked at 4 things.
Paul and the Tuileries eating a baguette sandwich.
Yes. Yes.
Good guess. I think it's a unanimous, guys. Degas. Good guesses.
Yes, of course. Mr. Degas is really known a lot for all of his paintings of the ballet, which are all gorgeous. He, of course, did a couple sculptures like the 14-year-old girl with the real hair and everything like that. But he would paint the musicians, not only that, but the musicians and the audience and the people in the balcony, the people behind the stage. At the time, the dancers and stuff at the ballet, they basically just act like actors at the time, were just like a notch above being a prostitute. That's how society saw them. And part of the reason is because you would have, like at the opera, you'd have some people that could have a subscription, and that subscription gave you 3 days a week. You could go backstage. And so you'd have sometimes, I think this is probably where the stage mother term came into play, but they would have these, these very wealthy men. I'd come back there, and these mothers, a lot of the mothers would see this as, a fantastic way for them to, for their daughters to get set up. And so a lot of the dancers, they were called the little rats at the time. They would the mothers would sometimes push them off onto these men. Okay. And so there's this whole, Degas captures these beautiful scenes, but there's kind of a whole different,
vibe.
Speedy world, behind the scenes of it. But he finally in 1885 got his own subscription, and for 7 years he was able to go backstage, and so he was able to capture more paintings and stuff. But he really brought that whole world to life, even for us to today. But he would paint some of his paintings. They did have this amazing exhibition at the Orsay a couple years ago about Degas. And they had a whole section that was just of these paintings of these men, that he knew, that kind of hanging around backstage. And once you know the story, you could kind of see the paintings and it kind of like you could put it together. But it's not like, creepy weirdos.
Looking for their child bride, nothing creepy.
Yeah. But the girls were, they were upper teenager years and mid-teenage years, and a lot of the mothers, some of them were pretty harsh, just pushing their daughters onto these men.
Take care of this kid so I don't have to anymore. Oh, she also the exhibition at the Orsay. The exhibit.
Yes.
Good guesses, guys. I think everybody got that one. Very good. All right, next question. This painting by Manet caused an uproar, but was defended by Émile Zola. So what was the painting, guys? It was painted by Manet. Everybody was angry, of course. The Impressionists, they were just pissing everyone off.
Yeah, ticking everyone off.
That was kind of their thing. But it was defended by Zola. Who was it, guys? What is the painting? The title of the painting? By Manet, uproar, defended by Émile Zola. Any ideas? I think we talked about this one earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of clue. And I think that's a very good clue right there.
Yeah, Cheryl, that exhibit was I really love too, where it showed some of Degas' early stuff where he did copies of like some of Michelangelo's statues, like the Dying Slave. It was the Orsay did an amazing job with the exhibition. It was really great. The Orsay and the Orangerie really do a great job with their exhibitions.
The Execution of Maximilian. I want to know what that painting was.
I don't know. That might
You have that in your book, Claudine?
I don't know if that's in here. I don't think it is because I don't. I don't think it's at the. I don't think it's at the Orsay. I know what painting you're talking about.
Is someone actually getting executed?
No, well, it has I think if I'm correct, it's a group of men with guns, and it was kind of his little take back at the political thing at the time.
Political drama.
With Napoleon III.
Still got a lot of that today.
Yeah.
Guys, you are correct. It was Olympia.
Yes, another one. Let's all say it. Drinking game, my favorites.
Beautiful.
It's that one. He painted 1865, the same year he did Déjeuner. And so this one also, he ticked them all off with Déjeuner sur l'herbe. But so he's like, let me make a bigger painting with a bigger naked lady. And he has all of the, part of the thing is that the way she has a gaze looking at people. It's also, he basically, by putting little things in there, he ended up basically showing that she was kind of a high, a high class courtesan at the time. The black cat kind of represents that, her jewelry and her fancy slipper and stuff. So he painted this. It is a Victorine, again, who we did the podcast about, who was gorgeous, so pretty. They said at the time, they were saying how ugly she was. Critics were calling her ugly, but it's a beautiful painting. Again, at the Orsay, another exhibition they did where they focused on the Black models in paintings that have mostly been forgotten. They did a bunch of, it was fascinating. They did a bunch of research. This one they did because this was always just, basically would say Olympia with the Black serpent. And so they did research and they went through notes that Manet had. Her name was Lori, and we don't know her last name, but he had made notes about how wonderful she was to work with and how beautiful she was. So it was a really fantastic exhibit and really interesting how they really focused on all of these people that have just been, these African models that were just basically forgotten in artwork. So it
So
was
were
really
they paid, the African models too? They were paid to pose for the painting?
yeah. Jericho. There was I put a post on Instagram a while ago. Jericho would use a bunch of them, and they had like all like sketches and drawings, and some of these artists at multiple different or models that multiple artists that would use and stuff, and it was really fascinating. The paintings are just gorgeous too.
Ellen's asking if there's a story of the presentation of the flowers.
Well, some of it to think is that it was, that she's giving it as like, here's, from, maybe the man that just left or the man that was coming. It's a gift. Cezanne's interpretation of the painting that I posted on Instagram the other day is, I kind of call it, it's like a back shot. Like, it's almost like if, the camera was pulled back farther. I'm sure it's in here. I'm not sure. It has like a man there looking at her, and she's kind of moving across the bed, and Lori's actually adjusting the blinds. So it's kind of another one of those nods, like she's a prostitute because here's this gift from, her past client or her future client.
Pretty flowers. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, guys, we're down to the last 3 questions. We love your enthusiasm. So keep giving us guesses because we really like when you give us guesses. Next question. This Impressionist painter painted the floor scrapers and Rue de Paris, but was also an avid collector. So who was the guy? He was an Impressionist painter. He painted the floor scrapers and Rue de Paris, but he also loved to collect art. Who do we think that was, guys? Any guesses? The floor scrapers. Is that the famous one where they're preparing the floor for the ballet dancers? Oh, yes, I've seen that painting. Is that in the Orsay too?
Where am I?
Oh, yeah, that one I've seen.
Yes, it's in the Orsay. I love this one. I love the window in the background with the ironwork, and so Parisian.
It's so Parisian, so pretty. Working hard. Do they still do that? Do they scrape the floors today?
I'm sure they do. They probably have some big fancy machine.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was a little like, of course, it caused controversy because it was he was more of a kind of a realistic painter, but it was a little too realistic for, people didn't need to see, the help scraping the floor.
Oh, really? So controversial back then. Who do you think made your floor so pretty, people?
I know. Oh, Ellen, that's funny. Every floor company has one on their walls.
The help.
Yeah.
Good guesses, guys. Tell them the answer, Claudine.
It is, in fact, Gustave Caillebotte. He was a fantastic painter in his own right, and he ended up becoming friends with a lot of the Impressionists. And he wasn't really thought of as much as an Impressionist like all the rest of them, but he became close friends with Monet and Manet and all of those people. And he also, once his father passed away and he came into some inheritance, he ended up purchasing a lot of art from them as well. And his collection is fantastic. It's also in the Orsay. It's up in the Impressionist gallery. It's pretty much all in one room. So you could see a lot of the paintings of the Impressionists that he had collected as well. They just added a couple new pieces to it. The last time I was there, it said a new edition. It did say that for about a year. But he was definitely involved in trying to get the state to purchase Manet's Déjeuner sur l'herbe. Originally, it stayed. Manet kept it in his collection, and then Monet actually purchased it, and then he ended up being the one that kind of really asked them to purchase it, so it became in the collection.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's cool. So he loved art from all ways.
Yeah,
and collecting it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Next question. He captured the streets of Paris and the landscapes of France, and he was thought of as the father of the Impressionist. So who do we think that was, guys? He captured the streets of Paris and the landscapes of France, and he was thought of as the father of the Impressionist. Who do we think this Papa was? Papa Impressionism. I like the spelling of his name. Very interesting spelling.
Mary, you might be thinking of the Courbet, very naughty painting.
Very naughty.
That we know somebody that wrote a book about that painting, and I have it right here, but I don't know if I should show it.
You guys eating lunch or?
Yeah. Do you have are there small children in the room?
Lillian Milgram wrote a book about that painting, and she copied it. The copyist.
Yes.
Good guesses, guys. Claudine, what is the answer of the father of the Impressionists?
It is Pissarro, Camille Pissarro. He ended up, he was the Origins of the World, Mary. You would think that it'd be man, but more world. And Pissarro actually was the only one of the artists that took part in all 8 of the special Impressionist exhibitions. He ended up becoming taking a lot of them under his wing and teaching him how to paint en plein air outside. And at the time he does these really beautiful landscapes, some very famous ones of Paris, as well as the countryside outside of Paris as well.
I love it. Beautiful.
He was a big inspiration for Van Gogh and Gauguin and Cezanne that came right after him too.
Imagine being the inspiration for those guys.
I know, right?
No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, this is the last question. We appreciate your enthusiasm. Keep the guesses coming. Let's see if you can get this last one right. His grand decoration was a gift to France on the final day of World War I. So his grand decoration was a gift to France on the final day of World War I. Who was the painter that gave a final gift, grand decoration, final day of World War I? Who was? I feel like I'm auctioning it off. I mean, our people are so smart.
They're so smart.
They're just very smart.
This one was kind of hard because I was like, do I go more to the paintings or do I go more to the artists? And then I was like, some of these, like some of my other favorite paintings are pretty, random. I could have also made this entire thing just about Manet and Monet, which maybe we should do another time. We could do one only on Monet and Manet separately because there's so many fascinating, amazing facts about them.
It's true. These people lived very colorful lives.
Literally.
I like it. You guys are right. It was Monet.
It was Mr. Claude Monet, Oscar Claude Monet. He ended up in his later years. This is much later when he was really having the issues with seeing. His cataracts would alter a lot because it's like a yellow film kind of that goes over your eye, so it kind of gives everything, it really distorts the colors and stuff. He at one point had kind of just given up after his son had died and he didn't want to paint anymore, and then he decided he was going to, if you've been out to Giverny and you go through the exit to the gift shop, that the gift shop itself was this building that he had built he had this idea to paint these huge monumental canvases. So he had that built so he could do that there. He was very good friends with Georges Clemenceau, the tiger, and he had told Clemenceau that he was going to do this and he wanted to make this, these grand paintings and end up give them to France. And so Clemenceau, he told him, he's like, well, come out here and pick which ones that you think that you want, because he had done quite a few. While he was doing them, he'd also get upset and he would just like rip them apart, like destroy them at the same time. And so on November 11th, 1918, he ended up giving the gift to the state with a few stipulations that he had to be involved in the way that they were going to be, displayed. The original first version, they were going to build a more modern, at that time, 1918, a modern looking building outside of where the Musée Rodin is. And a lot of people were like, no way, because, it's very Louis XIV, the building is, and the structure just wouldn't go into play. Clemenceau was the one who had found out about the orangerie in the Tuileries. And they ended up putting that, building that structure. And they told him they were going to put him in the basement of the orangerie, if you've been in there. And he said no. There was quite a few times that he rescinded the offer of the paintings, and Clemenceau had to go out to Giverny and to convince him that, no, we need to, try to calm him down. And so finally he was involved in it. He wanted it because he wanted to be into a room where it would, there was a skylight so that the light would change all the way throughout the day on the paintings, and it would move around, and he wanted it, he painted them so they'd specifically be in this oval space. So he was involved with pretty much all the parts of how it was going to be displayed in the room. He died in 1926, so he died before it was ever finished, but we can now see it today in the orangerie.
And he'd be so sad he's in the basement.
He would not have been happy about being in the basement. I'd be like, I am Monet, damn it. He was a pretty big deal then.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We love doing this with you. We do it every 2 weeks. Claudine gives us all this fun trivia, comes up with the questions, and challenges our brains, take a break from the TV. And you enjoy, please listen to the podcast every Monday. It's Paris History with a Hemingway. That would be Claudine Hemingway. And then every Wednesday, Krystal, myself, talks to the living artist of Paris. And we both have Patreon pages, which I have listed in the comments of this broadcast. If you'd like to donate to our endeavors, we greatly appreciate it. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Claudine?
Well, we also have, and I think this was maybe the fifth or sixth one we did today. We're doing every Sunday morning, 7 a.m. West Coast time, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're doing live walks in Paris. So today we walked all the way around Ile Saint-Louis, and we share basically history of almost every single building that we see and everything around it. So definitely check that out. You can find that on the Vie Creative Facebook group. And so check that out. And then also you could always find more stuff on my Instagram, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, where I post something about Paris history every single day.
Yes, so join our virtual tours, guys. If you can't travel to France right now, you can come virtually with us because we do the video live, and Claudine narrates and gives you all the history on what you're seeing. So it's a little more interesting than just staring at things and not knowing that, like, Monet lived there.
Yeah, and if you did miss the videos, send us a message, and we could end up we do charge for those tours, but we could send you a link, and then we could send you the video. And yes, sans regie on and thank you, Carol. I was busy Carol sent me a beautiful photo of a painting she's going to do of Ile Saint-Louis.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
4 words at the same time.